Hopefully some immersive sound effects for you here. Just out on my my walk on this Friday afternoon, and I wanted to talk about perception. Why is it that only some have a greater depth and breadth of perception, whereas others are very myopic? I continue to find this fascinating. I really do. How some can't see the wood for the trees and appear to see everything in black and white, don't appear to see the interconnectedness or possible interconnectedness of things, don't appear to have an appreciation of what may be beyond what they can see and hear. And yet others can do all of those things, and then talk about whether it's a curse or a gift. Because some days I think it's a curse, I tell you, and other days I think it's a gift. Anyway, back off holiday today, and here I am on my walk through the gorgeous countryside near to my home, a daily walk. It's so hot and humid. Oh, looking forward to the weather cooling down a little bit actually now. It's really humid actually. But look at this gorgeous, splendid countryside here. Field of wheat behind me again there. So I'm reading a book at the moment, The Answer by David Icke. Some of you may have read it. I think it came out about this time last year. And you know, for me, David Icke's been a big influence in the last year or so. Particularly with regard to, as I mentioned before, connecting things. He talks a lot about connecting the dots and spotting and acknowledging patterns, and it's simpler than people think, and he's so true, because it all makes perfect sense to me now. These events that many would dismiss as being completely random and separate from each other, events, ideologies, circumstances, actually all falling under the same umbrella. That is my opinion as well. But in the book, he talks a lot about perception, and there's a diagram just of a black square, and he talks about how we can choose to see a black square. But actually, what if there's more to it than just black, than just darkness? Because what if it's a photograph of an eye, and the camera lens is just zoomed into the pupil of the eye? So the black is the pupil, but if we pan out a bit, we can see a human eye. And if we pan out a bit more, we can see a person, so we have life. And if we widen the view further, and the person's in a house, in a street, in the world, on a planet, in the universe. I thought it was a pretty effective way of demonstrating how there are layers and there is depth, possible infinite depth, to what we can see. What is as important is what we can't see, but what we can intuitively feel. Because that's what intuition is. Intuition is about feeling. We can see with our eyes, obviously, and we can form our own individual judgments on the world, but it's important because we form thoughts around those observations. It's also very important that we give enough credence to this, to the heart, to the gut, where lies incredible intelligence, and we allow ourselves to be guided through intuition, at least as much as through thinking, probably more through thinking. And that is to do with having an awareness of what perception is. I mean, that's a difficult question, isn't it? What is perception? Perception. How do we, and why do we perceive the world the way that we do? Also in the book that I'm reading, he talks about, I think it was a German psychologist, and I can't remember the exact quote, but it's something along the lines of, every man's world view is dictated by his own limits of his perception. So effectively, if we see the world through a very narrow lens, maybe we just believe what the BBC tells us, maybe, or we just believe what our daily newspaper tells us, maybe whether it's the Daily Mail, or maybe it could be the Guardian, or whatever it is, or we just believe what our echo chamber on social media says, then that is the world. The world is as is described in those forums, on those media channels, etc. And that's true, isn't it? And this great awakening and liberation and enlightenment, whatever you want to call it, is the result of, I believe, tens of millions of people in the world now peeling off those layers, adjusting that perception, realising that there's unfathomable depth to what's actually going on in this world, and expanding our worldview to the point of acknowledging the infinite and eternal depth to it all. It's not a black and white lens, it's a multicoloured kaleidoscope. And it's not a narrow view, but it's incomprehensibly and unfathomably wide. And then that links in with the whole concept of truth then, doesn't it? Truth and perception are interconnected on a very deep level. And it continues to fascinate me how so many, I'm going to say appear, I can't say are really, because again that would be possibly me projecting my own limits of worldview onto the world, but so many people appear to be so myopically focused on the same things, on things that they're told, with seemingly, and I'll say seemingly, no capacity for stretching those boundaries even a little bit. And when you realise the conditioning in the West that takes place from cradle to grave, it is absolutely astonishing, astounding and shocking. The challenge for all of us is to uncondition much of that conditioning and make sure we don't harm ourselves in the process. Because the burning off of what's not true for us is emotionally disturbing and traumatic. And it takes place over a long period of time. But that is the renaissance. That is the rekindling of the human spirit. That is the awakening. That is the enlightenment. And it is taking place. It's a painful process, but a liberating one, and absolutely must be done. So of course, I'm guessing we all have days where we think to go through this process and to have this wide angle view on life, to acknowledge that there may be pieces of truth in everything that we see, to certainly acknowledge that we've been lied to in so many ways. That is a curse and a gift in equal measure. But I'll tell you why it's more of a gift. Because one day it won't be a curse. One day it'll only be a gift. And that day will be when enough people have gone through the process that we're all going through and have not come out the other side, because what would the other side look like, but have triggered a change in energy in society to the point where real common decent values that other eras in history have treasured, such as philosophy and community, proper charity, family, intellect, philosophy, enlightenment. Once those values return, and they will do, then being somebody who is trying to be open-minded and open-hearted will only be the most wonderful gift possible to be bestowed on a human being. And it's important that those of us who are going through this process right now, painful as it is, painful because the frustrations and anger that we can feel at those who we may dismiss as fools, who are fools maybe, who we may dismiss as stupid, who we may dismiss as idiotic, who we may dismiss as naive, and we may dismiss as ignorant. Those frustrations and that anger is considerable, and part of what we need to do is to make peace with that at the same time as trying to cajole the best out of ourselves and those around us, out of ourselves first. So again, perception, and we must always return to the point where, what is it we can do? What can I do? What can I do to ensure that the energy I'm putting out today is beneficial for those around me and for the world, for the universe? What can I do? How can I ensure, through introspection, honest introspection, that I'm not checking my responsibilities, that I'm not just talking about waking up, becoming enlightened, but that I am actually pushing the boundaries of what I'm capable of doing in this world. I think we all need to remember that it starts with us, and then that again comes back to what's our perception on ourselves and the world, and what's our truth. So, what do you think of that then? Tell me what your perceptions are of what I've just said. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts on anything I've said there. I'm loving the contributions from my subscribers recently. Really valuable, thought-provoking, and thanks so much for your continued support. Don't forget to subscribe to The Imperfect Individual if you've not already done so. Share this video with anyone you think may benefit from it, and don't forget the Telegram channel just in the description below, where we have a little chat on a daily basis now, which is pretty enjoyable. Another way to connect with each other. And I'm going to enjoy the rest of my my walk today, and I'll speak to you all soon. Bye bye.